It was a chilly November afternoon. The streets of New York were filled with people rushing by. Taxi horns echoed, and the shadows of skyscrapers stretched across the roads on this bustling day. Amidst the crowd, a tall man wearing a dark overcoat and a red tie walked slowly with deliberate steps. Donald Trump was in the city for an important business meeting, but for a moment he decided to change his route and take a walk through the streets of Manhattan. As he passed a cafe near Central Park, something made him stop. Against the cold brick wall sat a man whose face bore the weight of many years. His clothes were worn out, and in his trembling fingers he held a cardboard sign that read, "I used to be a businessman. I need help. Please help me." Trump took a deep breath. He had seen many people on the streets over the years, but there was something different about this man. There was a sense of dignity in the way he sat, a quiet strength in his eyes. He stepped closer, his shadow falling over the seated man. "What's your name?" Trump asked, his voice firm but kind. The man looked up in surprise. He hadn't expected Donald Trump to speak to him. "John," he said after a moment. "John Peterson." Trump nodded. "John, tell me, what happened?" John hesitated, then sighed and began to speak. "I once had a small restaurant chain. I started with a single location and expanded. Business was good, until it wasn't. The pandemic hit, the economy changed, and suddenly I lost everything. My business, my home. Now I'm just trying to survive." Trump listened carefully. He had always understood the struggles of business, but hearing it firsthand affected him deeply. "Are you still willing to work?" he finally asked. John's eyes lit up with hope. "Of course. If I had a chance, I would rebuild everything from scratch." Without a second thought, Trump pulled out his phone. "Give me a few minutes," he said, stepping aside to make a call. John watched in silence. Trump spoke into the phone with determination, each word focused on finding a solution. John didn't know exactly what was being discussed, but he could sense that something serious was happening. A moment later, Trump returned. "John, do you have identification?" John slowly nodded. "Yes, I always carry it with me." Trump smiled. "Good, because I just made a call. I've arranged a job, a place to stay, and a fresh start for you. But it's entirely your choice. Are you ready to take this opportunity?" John's hands trembled slightly. He gripped the cardboard sign he had been holding for weeks, his eyes welling up. "Are you serious?" Trump nodded. "I'm completely serious. But remember, success is not handed to anyone on a silver platter. You have to take it yourself." For the first time in a long time, John felt something. Hope. An hour later, a sleek black SUV pulled up to the curb. Trump had made all the arrangements for John to be taken to a nearby hotel. As John got into the car, he still couldn't believe what was happening. As the vehicle glided through the streets of New York, he just stared out the window, trying to process the situation. When they arrived at the hotel, a well-dressed staff member greeted them at the door. "Mr. Peterson, welcome. A special suite has been prepared for you." John turned to Trump. "I don't even know how to thank you." Trump waved a hand dismissively. "It's too early for that. The real work starts now." Inside the hotel, John was given clean clothes, a hot meal, and something he had long forgotten: dignity. But Trump didn't stop there. He had also arranged for John to meet with a business consultant. That evening, as John sat in his hotel suite looking out over the city skyline, he felt something he hadn't in years: a sense of belonging. The next morning, Trump returned to the hotel. John was already a different man. He wore a proper outfit, and his eyes shone with determination. "I thought about it last night," John said. "I want to start over. I'm going to open a small restaurant. Just good food, good service, and hard work." Trump nodded approvingly. "That's what I like to hear. And I'm going to help you." John was stunned. "What do you mean?" Trump smiled. I know a thing or two about real estate. I'll find you a suitable place. The rest is up to you. John's heart raced. This was his chance. For 2 months, John's life completely changed. Every day he worked tirelessly on building his restaurant. First he set up the kitchen, then created the menu. With Trump's connections, he was able to find high-quality ingredients at reasonable prices. But the real challenge was stepping into the restaurant each morning and working in the kitchen himself. John named his restaurant John's Corner. It was a small but cozy place, decorated with nostalgic touches that reminded him of his old customers. Trump personally attended the grand opening. The media quickly picked up the story, and soon, headlines like, "How Donald Trump Changed a Homeless Man's Life" spread everywhere. On opening day, a long line formed outside. Some of John's old customers even showed up. He personally prepared the first order and handed it to the customer. The smile on his face marked a new beginning. During the ceremony, Trump walked up to John and handed him an envelope. "What's this?" John asked. Trump smiled. "This is a small investment for your business, but remember, it's not a donation. It's an investment." John's eyes filled with tears. "I will pay this back, I promise." Trump nodded. "I know you will. But promise me one thing. One day you'll help someone else too." John took a deep breath and shook his hand firmly. "I promise." Months passed. John's Corner quickly became one of New York's beloved restaurants. John provided job opportunities for the unemployed and homeless, extending the same helping hand that had once been given to him. One evening, as John was clearing the last table of the day, his phone rang. "John?" said a familiar voice. "How's business?" John smiled. "Great. Better than I ever imagined." Trump's voice carried a sense of pride. "That's what I like to hear. Never forget. What did I tell you?" John chuckled softly. "Pay it forward. Help someone else." Trump laughed. "Exactly." As John hung up the phone, he looked out the window. The lights of New York shone brightly. The man who once sat hopelessly on the street was gone. In his place stood someone strong, successful, and reborn. And it all started because one person chose to stop and offer a helping hand.